There are many things for which the German people owe gratitude to the American people, and there are many ways in which this gratitude has been expressed. A group who deserves our special appreciation and recognition are the hundreds of thousands of American service members and their families who have safeguarded freedom and peace on German soil, far away from home, for more than 4 continuous decades. Now the tides of history have put an end to the undeclared Cold War that divided Germany and Europe for almost half a century. We want you, the American service members, to know that we Germans say, thank you, America, for all that you have done. As we must now say goodbye to many, but fortunately not all of you, Germany and the United States of America remain united in the pursuit of our common values of freedom, peace, democracy, and friendship. It is our earnest hope that Germany has been a good host to each and every one of you, and that you will harbor pleasant memories of your tour of duty here. Join us now for a presentation of the sights and sounds of a country that continues to welcome you as we enter this new phase of a joint future.
Germany and America have shared a strong mutual commitment for over 40 years. Since the time following the Second World War, Germany has become home to hundreds of thousands of Americans. On October 3rd, 1990, East and West Germany reunited, and a new chapter began to unfold. The pages of history during these climactic times are written with the pen of friendship. This is an association that has earned the admiration of the world. The strength of this partnership began here, in the devastation of war.
D-Day.
Amid the rubble of destruction, the flags of the victors, men who taken up arms in self-defense with a common aim to destroy that which menaced them all. Around them, a defeated nation, for their armies had met in the very middle of Germany. Until such time as Germany could reshape her own destiny, she would be divided into separate zones of occupation, each controlled by an allied power, American, British, French, Russian. Economically, she would be treated as a whole. What was to be done meant starting again from scratch. Even then, some had reservations about mutual trust. But a world war just over, they had to trust one another, or else begin another war. For Berlin, it was to be each power with its sector, but a city open to all the powers until Berlin could again assume her role as the capital of a new German state. Yet amid the ruins and the deprivation, slowly a start was made. A start not only upon the physical reconstruction, but also the political rebirth. These were the years in which the expression Iron Curtain became a reality. Along a line from the Baltic to the Balkans, a clampdown. In place of the comradeship of victory, barbed wire, suspicion, and distrust. Years of disillusionment. Meanwhile, over the frontier paths, there flowed a steady stream of refugees east to west. Soon it became clear that most were moving westwards because they could not tolerate life in the east. Again, an ominous sign. In the World Councils of the United Nations, the war-weary were endeavoring to establish a lasting peace. But these were the days of Stalinist expansion, and so, by repeated refusals to cooperate, except on their own terms, the Soviet delegates sabotaged any progress towards real stability. West Berlin they could not touch, but they could and did interfere with the lifelines on which West Berlin depended. The roads, the railways, the canals. These were West Berlin's vital arteries. The only element still open, the air above. It started as a trickle, as a temporary measure. Plane after plane. Destination, the airfields of West Berlin. The vital necessities, food, raw materials, even coal brought in by air, until the United States, Great Britain and France were embarked upon the biggest air transport operation history has ever seen. It was to be expected that the Soviets would not take the airlift without some reaction. Across the eastern boundary, the communists staged demonstrations against what they called this Western interference with Berlin affairs. For the West, the Berlin blockade came as the last straw. Soviet behavior had demonstrated that no one was safe. After much negotiation, 12 nations came together to form an alliance for collective defense. Its name, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or, as it came to be known, NATO. Together in Washington in April 1949, they put the seal on their union. They were resolved, as they put it, to unite their efforts for collective defense and the preservation of peace and security. It was to be the end of leaning over backwards in the face of consistent Soviet expansion. Meanwhile, for West Berlin, it had been a tough winter. But there could be no turning back now. If the Russians thought that the city could not be supplied indefinitely by air, they were going to be proved very wrong. For the airlift, all possible reinforcement. Food and supplies, month in, month out. Soon it became clear that the West had not only won a victory against logistics, but also a model victory which drew the admiration of the world, thanks to the crews of the airlift. Victory through determination to defend the right. Meanwhile, a series of signatures on a piece of paper had slowly but surely turned into practical steps towards military cooperation and collective rearmament within NATO. Indeed, the growth of unity in the West was such that the Russians, though still breathing threats, realized that their pressure was inducing the very opposite of that disunity on which they counted. Meanwhile, in these years of uneasy truce, the Soviet Union has systematically turned her zone into a purely communist regime and blocked every attempt to treat Germany as a whole. The three Western powers had no alternative but to move forward with the economic unification of their zones. This was followed by political unification. Independence was not long in coming, and there was born a new sovereign state, the Federal Republic of Germany. Chancellor Adenauer and the Federal Parliament agreed that the new republic should join NATO, so bringing the organization's strength up to 15 nations. And by now, strength was no misnomer. For though the crisis was far from over, NATO's power was such as to make any aggressor think carefully. Now the West could negotiate from a position of strength and confidence. In the face of continued Soviet obstruction, the 15 NATO nations sought to clear the Soviets' minds as to how the alliance stood on the thorny question of Berlin. Already in 1954, the three powers responsible for Berlin had made it clear beyond doubt that any attack against Berlin from any quarter would be treated as an attack on their forces and on themselves. Until such time as the Soviets change their minds, the NATO nations will stand firm in face of all Soviet pressure and honor their pledge to maintain the freedom of West Berlin and its people, a pledge often repeated at NATO ministerial meetings. So, until there was a change of front on the part of the East, it would seem that Germany would remain divided. In November 1958, Soviet pressure comes on again. Mr. Khrushchev begins to create his own crisis by threatening to sign a separate peace treaty with the East Germans. Paris, May 1960. Mr. Khrushchev uses the U-2 incident to break up the summit conference, which was meant to bring the Berlin and German questions nearer to a solution. He drops his threat to take immediate action, but does not change his tune. Berlin, he alleges, is the capital of a sovereign East Germany, and the Allies must be made to quit Berlin. And in rearmed communist Germany, the force is there. Men and armor. June the 4th, 1961. Khrushchev to President Kennedy. Khrushchev repeats his threat to sign a separate peace treaty with East Germany, which he claims, wrongly, will end all Western rights in Berlin. And so on. Move after move, until... On the 13th of August, 1961, a wall of East German police stands at the Brandenburg Gate. All communication between the eastern sector and those of the west has been cut as though by a knife. Soviet attacks on the rights of the Western powers in Berlin showed that the wall was meant to be a step towards control of the whole city, towards forcing out the Western powers. As the last escape routes were cut one after the other, final scrambles so as not to be left behind in the prison.
Sie zurückhalten, ihre Empörung freien Lauf.
At protest meetings held in the western sectors, the mayor and people of West Berlin called for help and support from the three Western powers.
Darauf gibt es nur die Antwort: Nein, niemals.
And he did not call in vain.
Ich bin ein Berliner.
American commitment to secure peace in Europe never faltered. West Germany, with its Western allies, stood strong against the Russian bear.
Доблестные вооруженные силы.
But the Soviet intimidation proved false, and on November 9, 1989, the walls of communism began to crumble. Today, Germany is a nation where the scars of war have become the fabric of the future. For many Americans, scenes of Deutschland are now as much a part of their lives as any German.
It's different. It's really enjoyable. I like the scenery. I like what's in Germany.
It's just such a variety of life. It just, overall makes everything nice here.
Well, I've met one German. She was very nice. She knew enough English to get to converse with, and she was trying, and I was trying, and we really just had a good time.
I got here in November, so I was here for all the fests at Christmas. And when we went through Head Start, we came down here. So I kind of got baptized into the fest area.
I love living in Germany. The best part about it is the wine.
It's a wonderful thing. German wine is great. Also dann.
I love the lifestyle. The way they live, the scenery, the clocks.
What I like about Germany, I like the people over here. The countryside is nice. It's just a nice place to be.
We get to have peace and quiet, and sometimes it really smells in the farm.
Germany itself, the countryside is gorgeous.
But Germany for us is a great place to spend a lot of leisure time.
It's sad to leave Germany. I feel very fortunate that I spent as long over here as I did, and I think people coming into service today are going to miss that opportunity.
An experience of a lifetime. I really think my kids are going to look back at this and say how lucky they were.
My favorite food here is probably the desserts. The apple kuchen and the fresh baked bread daily. I think I'm probably addicted to that.
Excellent. Excellent food.
And beer. There's so many beers in this place. I couldn't even give you half the names. All excellent beers.
To travel. I love traveling.
Obviously, after being here 40 years, we're going to leave some sort of imprint here. We've really become one united world as a whole here. We're just neighbors.
As we see the troops leaving, we're forming history. You're closing units. You're doing things that have never been done before.
As American troops reduce their numbers in Europe, the bonds of friendship remain. The future holds unlimited promise, and as Germany moves ahead, she goes knowing that she can say, "Thank you, America."